Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pooja Divedi. Let's talk about the link between colonialism and climate change. It's mind-boggling, but it's true. I'm not saying it, but the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is saying it. So these are the many topics that we are going to discuss step by step from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 1 and also from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 3. So without any further ado, let us look at the backdrop. So the International Panel on Climate Change sixth and latest report says that there is an impact of global warming on our planet, which its predecessors said as well. But for the first time ever, the IPCC has included the term colonialism in its summary. This is amazing. IPCC is a United Nations body. It assesses the science related to climate change. It was established in the year 1988 by two bodies, World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Programme. It prepares assessment reports, special reports as well, and also the methodology reports assessing the state of knowledge of climate change. See, it does not conduct scientific researches on its own, but it gathers different scientists and it works on those researches to formulate assessment reports. IPCC's assessment reports are produced every few years and they form a basis for government policies to tackle climate change and also provide what are the scientific reasons for any sort of research. There are three sorts of working group reports that are published. So first is working group 1. This deals with scientific basis for climate change. This is a very prelims question. You have to match the following. Working group 2 looks at the likely impacts, vulnerability and adaptation issues. And then the third one deals with the actions that can be taken to combat climate change. Moving on, let's talk about colonialism. What is colonialism? It is used to define as control by one power over a dependent area or people. When does it occur? It occurs when one nation subjugates another nation to conquer its population and exploit it for its own benefit. Drain of wealth theory, which was given by Dadabhai Nauroji. It often happens when, while forcing its own language and cultural values upon its people, white man's burden to civilize the beast of India by the British. By 1914, a large majority of the world's nation had been colonized by Europeans at one point or the other. The concept of it is closely linked to that of imperialism. Imperialism is the policy or ethos of using power and influence to control another nation or people that underlies colonialism. So imperialism is basically an ideology, and when you implement it on or execute it, then it becomes colonialism. The first wave of colonialism began in the 15th century during the Europe's age of discovery. And if we talk about this time, European countries such as Britain, Spain, France and Portugal, they colonized lands across North and South America. This had a very big motto: God, gold and glory. God means Christian missionaries thought it was their divine duty to transform the entire world and convert or evangelize them into Christianity, because they were expecting some kind of favor from God. Second is gold. That means to exploit these regions for benefit. And glory, once you compete for gold, the one who wins becomes glorified. So this was God, gold and glory. The second wave of the colonial exploits came in 19th century, and this was across Asia and African continent. This was generally known as scramble for Africa. So Britain, France, Portugal and Spain, they sliced up the continents like a pie and distributed it amongst them. Indigenous political, economic and social institutions were decimated, saying that there was no place for institutions of Asia or Africa, and the traditional way of life, which was the people who were following all that, they were made to feel inferior. So all these kind of ideologies were imposed. If we talk about the current report, it says that colonialism has exacerbated the effects of climate change. See, there is also historic colonialism and what is ongoing. Okay, they have helped to increase the vulnerability of specific people and places to the effects of climate change. For example, if we talk about the scale of bushfires in Australia today, which also includes the 2019-20 bushfire, is not being exacerbated by climate change alone because it has colonialism tinged to it. See, it's amplified by the colonial displacement of indigenous people who were earlier managing those forests very well. But now, because of their displacement, the entire ecosystem collapsed. Then the people most impacted by colonization, they have campaigned for and also gained greater access to the IPCC's process of creating different reports. There is, there were since 2017, there was clamor to get more indigenous and diversified authors from indigenous groups and policymakers, philosophers, even historians were included. So this has increased now. In the latest report, about 44% of authors are from developing countries and countries where economies are in transition. That has been up from 37% in the previous report. And it is also steadily growing of literature demonstrating the connections that is between climate change and colonization. Research is increasingly showing that climate science is rooted in imperialism and colonialism as well, because back then they only exploited, they never cared for the environment, and of course whatever loot they could do from Africa, Asia, North America, South America, they developed their own industries. So research is increasingly showing that climate change is rooted in the ideology of imperialism as well as the execution of it as in colonialism. So historian Deborah R. Cohen has shown that the key elements of contemporary climate change science owe their origins to the imperial ambitions of the 19th century Habsburg Empire. So what happened in this empire during the rule of this imperialism of Habsburg? The politics helped scientists to develop an understanding of the relationship between the development of local storm and what is the relationship of the local storm with the atmospheric circulation. So that is important. These are important for you to write as examples. Moving on. Now let's talk about climate history. See, first of all, the data which we have right now has been produced by colonizing powers. So whatever data we have right now is maybe reliable or not. We need new research system for that. We, for example, take the data extracted by scientists from the logbooks of mid-19th century English ships. This information was recorded as part of an effort to better connect territories colonized by the British Empire and speed up the exploitation of other people's land and water. So how reliable is the data? When you are executing your policies in such a manner which is harmful for the environment as a whole. So IPCC has taken a good step in the right direction when we talk about pointing out facts, and we hope that it continues and the current situation is tackled in a very unbiased manner. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.